Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jasper, and as you can tell, if you look a little bit deeper at the channel, this isn't a new channel. It's been around since maybe 2019 when I was a freshman in high school. It's been a while, but back then I used to make uh, clips of this game that I had called Minecraft Earth. Obviously, that game doesn't exist anymore because mostly of the pandemic, I'm pretty sure they shut it down, so that doesn't exist anymore. I can't go back to that, but I was thinking I want to use this channel again, make something new. So, sort of the vision I've been seeing is to make it a story channel where I tell my own stories, put some gameplay over it, typical YouTube stuff. You know, we'll see how that goes. Right now, I'm thinking I'm gonna upload twice a week, Friday, Sunday, maybe. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how I feel about all that. We'll see how it goes. But that's how it's gonna go. And today, I guess I'm gonna tell my first story on here. And the first story I want to tell, I mean, you'll probably see the dramatic title, "Leaking Documents Almost Gone Wrong," something like that, to try to get people in here. But basically, let's get some context out of the way. My school had this college admissions sort of philosophy where every student gets into a college. Now, you can sort of look past that and see they're just forcing people to apply and at least get into anywhere. And we've got community college, obviously, so that's sort of what they're going at, but not really telling you that. But part of having that was having a college counseling team, which I know a lot of schools have. But the deal with our college counseling that's relevant to this story is that they had a lounge area for the students to go to during lunch. So if you were at lunch and you were a senior or maybe a junior, I think it was only seniors, but it might have been juniors as well, you could go up with your lunch after getting your tray. You would go up there, you could hang out in that space, sit down, and what they were hoping you would do is get your college apps, essays, and all that recs out of the way. But me personally, I didn't do much of that. I was just up there to sort of avoid being down in the lunchroom. I was up there with my friends, I would talk to them, and that's sort of the vibe that was going on. But one day I went in there, and the layout of this room is there's a lot of tables you can sit at. It gets crowded pretty quickly. There's also a desk in there, and the desk belongs to this lady that worked there. Well, I don't think she was an employee. She was a volunteer, and sometimes she would be in there, sometimes she wouldn't be. But that desk was hers, but she wasn't there that day. So I went over and I sat on that desk because it was pretty crowded, and I just set my stuff down. I don't notice. Oh, there's this sheet on there. This bright green sheet that I somehow miss. I think that's when my eyesight started going a little bit bad, but regardless. Yeah, I don't see the sheet. I just put all my stuff on top of it. Another piece of context. We aren't allowed to have our backpacks in during the school day. What you do is you come in with your stuff in your backpack. You leave the backpack in the locker, and you take your stuff out for your first 3 or 4 periods. You return for lunch, get your stuff out, and you do that twice is what they want you to do. Me personally, I'm too lazy, so what I do is I carry all my stuff, and it's like this huge stack of binders and papers and all that. So yeah, I put all that stuff down, then I sit down, get on my laptop. Probably don't do anything with college applications or any of that. If story has anything to tell you, is that I am a bad student, and that will come up again. But so what happens is I do my thing, lunch bell rings. I realize I'm about to be late. Oh crap. Gather all my stuff as quickly as I can. Don't notice the sheet at the bottom. I just kind of grab it with the other stuff and I run. I go up to my floor with my Spanish class, and we're in Spanish class. And a bit through the Spanish class, I'm going through my stuff. I'm looking for something, and I find out yet that bright green sheet of paper. And I'm like, what is this? At first, I think it's just some construction paper, but it might have been construction paper, but what mattered more was what was on this sheet of paper. what was on that sheet of paper was a list of people, a list of students, and I was on that list. So, I mean, maybe you can already tell, but the sheet is basically a sort of bad student sheet. It's just basically a sheet of people who are failing classes. So if you're failing a class, you're on there. We had in total, I think 7 or 6 classes, maybe 8. It's been a while again. But what happened with all that was I was on the sheet, obviously. I was failing 3 classes at the time. At the very top were people who were failing 5 classes. And I'm surprised I wasn't up there looking back. I think I had just like lucked out on some of my classes with some of my interests. And so I was on there, but not at the top. The person next to me looks at it and they go, "Oh, can I see that? What is that?" And yeah, I mean, I just give it to them, which maybe I shouldn't have. But regardless, yeah, they see it. It gets passed around the classroom. People are taking pictures of it. Eventually, it reaches to someone I'm going to call Jasperina. And Jasperina is at the very top of the list, so that means she's failing 5 classes. It's ranked. It's ranked. It's ranked. You've got at the very bottom on the back the people with 1 class failing, and at the front, the top, you have the people failing 5 classes. So she's at the top of this rank thing, and obviously she's not happy. So somehow the dean gets involved, and I'm not exactly sure how. I wasn't paying attention. She probably went to the teacher. The teacher went to the dean. So the dean shows up. He's outside in the hallway, not inside. And they start following this trail of people who had seen it. They're trying to find who had gotten that paper there because nobody knew how that paper had gotten out of college counseling. So that happens, and I am freaking out because that could probably get me expelled, I'm thinking. Because I was already a bad student, like, in terms of grades. Like, in terms of compliance, I wasn't a bad student in that kind of sense, as much. I was a pretty alright student in that sense. But that was still really scary for me. To think that, oh crap, they're gonna trail it back to me. So I start freaking out. But luckily, we have groups in Spanish, for group projects and stuff. And the people around me are in my group, and they call one of them out, and she sort of confuses him enough where the trail goes back to Jasperina. And so that's really confusing, and we've reset it. Eventually they're going to get to me. But until then, we can plan. And then the perfect thing comes into mind. I get that paper, and I toss it into the recycling bin after crumpling up a little bit. And a few minutes later, they call me out. The dean's like, "Oh, Jasper, you know anything about that paper that's been passed around?" And, I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know. Someone passed it to me, but I don't know if I should say this, but I did see something." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, what did you see?" And I'm like, I remember the color of the paper, obviously. It was bright green. And while I was coming out here, the recycling bin's next to the door, so I tell him, "Oh yeah, the paper, I did see a bright green, like almost the exact same bright green in the recycling bin. I didn't see who tossed it in there, but when I was going out, I noticed that." And he smiles and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Jasper. Like, thank you for telling me that." And so I go back in, he goes in, he sees that paper, he takes it, and then he leaves. And that's the end of the story. Well, this story. The paper isn't quite done making its rounds yet. The paper will not... There's another story that's sort of related to this with the paper, where it's brought up. It's not like it's one of the main points, but not like the central point of the story. And I guess that'll be sort of a part 2 that I'm going to talk about. But it's too independent for me to talk about in this video, so we'll see how that goes. And thank you so much for tuning into this really, really funny story. Well, I hope it's funny to you guys. For me, it was terrifying. Now I'm looking back at it. It is sort of funny. But thank you so much. Like and subscribe.